Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a very festive edition of Pit Stop with myself, Andy Thompson, alongside me, my co-presentator, Dave Whitehouse here. And yeah, we are going to look at the last round, which was obviously Daytona. I just need to mute my TV because I can hear that. So, poor admin there. So it's no, it's not that. It's So Daytona was probably the best race we've had of the season so far. I mean, it was such an epic race. I think 3 classes were put down to the line, and even the one that wasn't down to the line was only 0.3 of a second. So between all the 4 classes, it was super close. But I suppose that's what Daytona is all about. It's all about trying to keep that slipstream. And then if you're in that second place going along that last lap, as long as you get that good exit out of the bus stop, you're going to do really well, Dave.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Welcome, everybody, to the podcast, as always. Yeah, a bit of a festive feel. You know, Santa's only a few days away now. But yeah, Daytona certainly gave us a present of a race. I mean, we had 4 classes, biggest split of 0.3 of a second, I think it was, across the line between the top 2 in each class. Yeah, okay, we didn't get 5 across the line for the win, but you know, you can't have everything in racing, can you?
Exactly. I mean, it just made it. There was so many battles going out on track, and you know, it's an iconic going around Daytona at night. Everyone's really used to it. I think iRacing always use it on the when it's on the official series going around on night. It's a well lit track, and also the scenery on the outside makes it even better spectacle. But what's happening tonight? So tonight we'll be looking at some of the epic pictures from Mr. Thomas Cope. You may notice something slightly different about this pit stop is we've revamped it to make it a little bit more professional rather than using what we were using before. But we do have Michael Cody alongside us for a chat as well. We will then be going into the penalties, and there's some good ones, and then we'll talk about some additions to the rules that are going to come out, and then look at some not how to do it sportsman-like behavior out on track, just so we can educate our drivers where we're going out. But I suppose, Dave, we're going into the final 4 rounds. We've got the festive period now. Obviously, it should only be 3, but we unfortunately we weren't able to get to Fiji, so we're putting that back into the calendar. Going to have the break for the Daytona 24-hour weekend. So it's going to be an interesting last 4. And at the moment, you know, all classes, maybe the Pro-Ams with Michael Hooper is starting to stretch that lead. But Patrick Thompson in second place is very much getting into the clutches of Casper Tunstall and Russ Fowler and James Logsdon. So that second place in that Pro-Am is probably where the battle is going to be, unless Michael has a complete disaster and falls apart. The pros, you know, Thomas Cope was at the front of the pros early on. Had a few incidents in the past, like 2 or 3 races, which has brought him down to 4th place before the Daytona round. But has had a really good race, won Daytona, which has brought him back up. So it's between Scott Mokes, Aaron Powell, and obviously Thomas Cope now going into the last 4 rounds. So it's going to be even more epic. And then you look further down in the AMS, Zander is leading out that one and is super close. And the rookies, although it's only sort of 3 cars, any one of them 3 cars can still win the championship. So all 4 of our classes in this round into the last 4, anybody could win it, couldn't they, Dave?
Yeah, exactly. And we had the added advantage right now with Thomas Cope being behind the scenes producing this, that we could see his reaction when you said he'd had a few incidents as we'd gone along. But no, each class has been super close. I think somebody actually put in the Discord how many different winners we've had in the classes so far. I think out of 10 races, I'm just going to try and find it because it was, I think the pro we've had 6, Pro-Ams were 6, AMs were 5, and rookies 4, and we haven't had that many rookies in each of the races. So to get 4 winners is quite remarkable with the amount of people we've had racing in it. So certainly anybody could win a race, anybody could win the championship really even now, because there's still that many races to go, and it's going to be a busy month for everybody because majority of drivers will want to do the Daytona 24 hours. They'll be practicing for that. They'll be practicing a different track each week. You know, we've got Red Bull Ring, we've got Fuji, we've got Le Mans. Actually, none of them are Daytona. So while they've sat there trying to learn it, they'll still want to do the practice on their 24-hour setups because they'll be completely different. And yeah, it's going to be a busy week for the computers for iRacing of the drivers in our championship.
It certainly is. And just like to say a big shout out to all our viewers who are watching us at the moment. And I'm sure the Keyboard Warriors will be on later on when we go through the penalties, giving their opinion. But, you know, these guys are fantastic. We love the interaction that we do get on these pit stops, which adds to it. You know, we get other people's views on where they're at. But I think probably now we're going to go over through the realms of modern technology and speak to our resident American driver, Michael Cody. So let's see if we can get Michael on the stream. Well, there you go. Modern technology at its best. Michael, welcome to the pit stop. Obviously, one of our resident American drivers. I don't think you are the only one, or is there another one?
No, we've got a few others. Aaron Powell, James Logston.
There we go. So the cohort of American drivers. Welcome to the podcast, Michael. We always ask. The first question is, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into iRacing, what cars you prefer to drive in the iRacing platform, and also how you're finding the league so far.
Well, I've been driving racing games for a while now. I think the first one was NASCAR on the PlayStation. So that was way back in it. Well, actually, I think I did Bill Elliott before that. So been doing this for a while. Back in 2018, I was still doing some console stuff, and I ran across a video of a streamer doing iRacing in December of 2018, I think. And in January, I built a PC and got on iRacing and pretty much stuck with it since then. I love the competition in iRacing. It's out of all of the racing games, PC or console, the setup is the best. The competition is the best, as far as I can tell. You know, I like the platform of iRacing and the matches that they do for the different iRatings and safety ratings, and to me, the competition is unbeatable.
Yeah, definitely. It is a good platform to learn, and like you say, it's as close to real life racing as you possibly get. What sort of rig do you actually race on?
It's a homemade rig. It's made out of 2x4s and 2x8s, and got triple screens and VRS wheel, VRS pedals. It's been kind of I think it's on its 5th iteration now. So I have, you build the first one and then it's like, no, I need to do this and do that. And, just keep adding to it and adjusting as needed.
Definitely. I mean, obviously, we are currently, it's 9 rounds, but only competed 8 rounds in the championship. Have you found this season so far, and very much what has been your highlight? And I suppose looking at the other side as well, your low light when we come to the championship so far.
Well, I'll be totally honest with you. I jumped in. My first race was Nords, and I was a little bit nervous, and because I hadn't raced with these guys at all before, and I was trying to do well and pushing a little harder than I should have. And, it turned out quite as well as I wanted it to. And then, of course, Fuji got canceled, so I didn't make that race. And then last week at Daytona, I had a very unfortunate outlap coming up to the green flag, and had to, start from the back of the Pro-Ams and work my way up as far as I could. So far, the racing is great. There's just been some, minor mental mistakes and issues made, that I'm hoping going forward things will be a little better for me anyway, personally.
So we got 4 rounds left in the championship. Is there any particular round that you're actually looking forward to?
Out of the 4 tracks left, I'm trying to think. Fuji, I started learning the track the same week of Fuji. I hadn't really raced it before. I enjoy the track. Le Mans, I like. It's a long, boring track, but there's places to race and places to just sit back and relax. So those 2 are probably the 2 I'm looking forward to the most. Interlagos, that's a hit or miss track for me, depending on the day. And Red Bull Ring, I know it okay, but it's not one of my top tier racetracks. So we'll see how those go.
Yeah, definitely. I think Red Bull Ring, I mean, I love the way the track lays out, but those incident points, and I think we've only seen probably about 1 or 2 drive-through penalties throughout the season. Them incident points are really going to rack up in an hour-long race. We might see a few drivers. How are you with the track limits around Red Bull Ring?
Well, that's one of the reasons it's not one of my most favorite tracks, especially the last 2 corners. But I will be practicing those with the new reset that iRacing has given us. I'll just sit there and do it over and over and over until I figure out how to make those 2 corners without going too wide.
It certainly is. Obviously, the hour-long race is going to be interesting. Dave, have you got any questions for Mr. Cody?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've spoke to Matthew Gerard privately before about his situation being in New Zealand. With you being in America, how do you fit these races sort of into your day? Does it come in around maybe tea time or something like that? Because obviously we're sort of like 8 o'clock in the evening, and you're sort of back a bit.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the race is midday for me on Sunday, so it's not too bad. I get on about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, do some practice, and then we race about 1:40, so I'm done by 3:30 or 4. The wife has been very kind to let me have Sunday afternoons, so it works out pretty well.
So I was going to say that's actually almost like watching a Grand Prix for us over in Europe, isn't it? We sit down, we have Sunday dinner, and the race finishes about 3, and we go off to our normal way. But have you got any sort of other interests apart from sort of sim racing? Because we've seen people with musical instruments and other interests that we go, oh, didn't expect that. Is there something that you could tell us about yourself that we go, oh, we didn't expect that one?
Well, I'm not very musically inclined, but carpentry is one of the things that I really enjoy. It's kind of my little hobby on the side. Again, I built my own rig, so I like doing carpentry, building things, remodeling houses, that kind of stuff. I enjoy the manual work of it and seeing the final product.
So just obviously seeing your Discord name. I don't know if there is anything to it, but I do want to ask, what's the reasoning behind Swamp Rat then?
Oh my God. That name came about back in the early 2000s, I think. I was playing a first-person shooter game with a bunch of friends, and somehow they came up with Swamp Rat because I was always the one hiding in the bushes and taking people out when they were least expecting it. So somebody came up with that name for me, and it just kind of stuck. It's been there. That was my PlayStation call name, and it's kind of been around since the early 2000s.
So, I know
actually, probably late 90s, actually. Yeah, probably late 90s, actually. So, yeah, it's been around for a while.
I just had visions of one of them boats in the Everglades, and that's where you got it from or something.
No,
unfortunately,
I will admit with Michael that it's really hard at that stage coming up with a name that's suitable for PlayStation and know that you will probably be called it for almost the rest of your life. Yep. And I've been really lucky that I had one on Xbox, and it comes up on Xbox still. but I'm not known as it now because I've got a different one because it's a different platform, so I get away with it. But if one sticks, that sticks with the people who are around, and yeah, it's I'm guessing Andy was more a Tetris guy.
Tetris, yeah, that's more snakes. Snakes is more my man. I remember you were saying at the start about obviously where you started the games. I think my very first experience for a sim for all us old and bold out there is Lotus Esprit on the Spectrum ZX, the ZX64, which was when was that? That must have been about the early 90s. Late 80s. I don't know if you remember that one.
I don't.
You don't.
I wasn't really into gaming back at that point. I didn't, I always had, the Atari, and then I got the Intellivision and Nintendo, and then went to PlayStation, and didn't really ever get into Xbox, but I was pretty much a PlayStation person, I guess. But I was a big NASCAR guy growing up. My first racing experience was a Daytona 500. And so, I grew up with Rusty Wallace and Darrell Waltrip and all those guys, watching them race, and I got into NASCAR. And that's really the reason I got into iRacing, was to do NASCAR. And then I started doing road racing and decided that I liked road racing more than going around in a circle. I still do NASCAR when they're at Watkins Glen and Sonoma. I will still go out in the NASCAR and ride around those tracks because I like the tracks.
Sonoma.
But, yeah,
I've just got bad
I don't do
memories
too
of
much
Sonoma.
NASCAR anymore.
Just bad memories of Sonoma with the GT3 cars. Yeah,
I haven't even brought some Sonoma yet, so that shows you my side of things. Because my first ever,
that's a great track.
My first ever computer game was Jeff Crammond's on the PC. Jeff Crammond's Grand Prix, and it was based on the 1991 season, and the graphics were boxy.
Awesome.
Boxy,
80s,
shall we say?
80s computer, awesome graphics.
I do wish I could go back and play it because you had the original Mexico City circuit, but it was one of these where the curbs were about as high as the cars. So as soon as you got onto them, you couldn't actually ride the curbs like you would do in real life. But yeah, boxy, I think I'd call the graphics.
Definitely. One thing I have got to say though, Michael, is I'm digging the beards. I mean, mine's very trimmed,
thank you.
but that is a very impressive beard you got going on there.
Oh, thank you, sir.
You're
I've had it. I've had some sort of facial hair since about 1992. So I've been growing the beard for the last year or two.
No, I shaved mine off, you see, but then I'd only do it every couple of weeks, so it grows, and then somebody goes, "Oh, you're trying to grow a beard?" It's like, that means it's looking untidy. I'm off.
Yeah, I get to this stage and it gets a bit longer and I just get annoyed with it. So anybody with a long beard, I've got utmost respect, because you got to get over that phase where it really bugs you. But getting back to the championship then. Obviously, like you said, you've had a bit of a hit and miss in the championship. How are you finding the field? One, the field you've been put into, and secondly, the competitive racing around you. Are you enjoying that part of the championship?
Yeah, I really am. Coming in mid-season, I know championship is out of it, but Reckless Abandon right now is sitting fourth in the team championship. So we're, I'm more concentrated on that and trying to help Dave and Steve, pull to the front of the AMs. So.
Definitely. I mean, it's been great having you in the championship. Obviously, are you going to look at possibly coming back to the start of season 2 to give you a fighting chance for the championship?
Oh, yeah. I'll be here in season 2.
Brilliant.
Looking forward to it, actually.
Yeah, well, we'll try and live up to everybody's expectations when we decide what tracks and what setups and how many rules we're going to sort of have. But obviously, Michael, thank you very much for joining us in the pit stop. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to while you're on the air?
Yeah, I always want to give the team guys a shout out. Reckless Abandon. We're a bunch of just guys that like to have fun, and we mostly do endurance stuff. So doing the championship here at P-Link is something that I'm trying to get more of the guys into, and we may have a few more Reckless Abandon joining us in season 2. So.
I mean, that's fantastic, and obviously what we are looking at, which is early in development, is a 12-hour endurance series that we're looking at doing. So that's certainly something that you might be interested in as well. But thank you very much for joining us, Michael. Look forward to seeing you out on track in the new year at Red Bull, and hopefully you can keep them last 2 corners incidents down to a minute.
I'll do my best.
But thanks for joining us, mate, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yep.
So there was Michael, obviously one of our American cohorts, joining us for the pit stop, and really appreciate it. And we like that section of this pit stop, is that it really gives us an insight into the drivers and a little bit more. It's like you said, Dave, we found out so many different things about the drivers. I think it was David Gill that makes his own wheels. We've got Lydia that can play the accordion, I think it was. And then we've got all other guys. I think we got a Scottish karate champion in Lewis McEvney, and it's really good insight. And then we've got all our Norwegians that have come on as well, and it's a great insight to find out, because all we see them is cars on a screen, but this really gives us an insight into the drivers themselves.
Yeah, exactly, it does, and it's much preferred to know a bit more about the drivers. And Michael is one of the newer ones we've had into the series, and has really bedded in with his speed, and it's just consistency, as he stated, that is kind of missing to get the results, and he was really unlucky with what happened at Daytona, which we will obviously go through later on. So it's going to be a great season for everybody to finish off, and maybe we just need to do like a little quiz in the final one to see who's actually been watching, and maybe have a little prize for the person who gets the most answers right. But then people might be actually chasing back through the podcast trying to find answers out.
We're only giving 30 seconds to answer in the chat, and so they can't look back at the podcast. But just having a look at the YouTube. Welcome, Tom Stevens. Welcome to the podcast. Simeon's loving the outfits.
Yeah, mine's hidden a little bit, but
I know it is. You have to show. So he has got a Christmas jumper on.
Yeah. It is Christmassy. There is a few others which I've seen from the people who made these, like all I want for Christmas is a Jordan 91 B19. Is it 919 or something? The 1991 Jordan, the green one, because they're obsessed with that. And many others. So yeah, that one's a bit of a take on Mr. Crofty, which we should have used at Daytona, shouldn't we? Should have used that one.
You should have, but at least you can see that Dave is in the festive season.
I've even put a light on.
Maybe not exactly. We are honoured to actually be able to see Mr. Whitehouse rather than in his dark little cave. But yeah, it's interesting. But what I want to have a look at now for the next segment is have a look at the photos from our very own Thomas Cope, and we can just revel in the glory of how close some of these finishes were, and then some of the excellent pictures as well. So let's go ahead and have a look at that. So as we can sort of see there, great performance link cars, and I think that's Thomas Cope just in the fray as well there. Do you know one thing I did say, and I will hold my hand up, in the commentary I'm so immersed in the racing that I did not see that Ferris wheel in the middle. I mean, I'm probably the only person that probably didn't, but I actually thought these pictures were from Spa.
I was sitting on it.
Sebring.
I was sitting on it. I was on that wheel for the whole race. That's why I got a bit dizzy near the end.
Yeah. I will mark down Thomas Cope for that picture though. His car is not pink; it's the lightest shade of pink, and he knows. But luckily, there's not many other pink cars out on track, so he gets away with it for one or two.
Yeah, there's Team Speed It? Sorry, they're not called Speed It, are they? The new team, the black and white cars, aren't they? Send It, that's it.
Yeah, Team Send It, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
There's Nikolai having a go at Tom, and Nikolai very unlucky not to get his first win, to be honest.
Yeah,
Tom just nipping him on the line.
I don't think Thomas was expecting that at all. That he thought it was probably going to be an easier race than what it was. But Nikolai was just all over the place. And again, I do apologise for calling you Nathaniel. I don't know why I was doing that.
Yeah, but there's more than once you did that as well.
It was, wasn't it? It was terrible on Sunday.
I'd say I still can't even think who Nathaniel is. So, you know, I mean, it shows
just
something.
Somebody I know, and it just came into my head, and it sort of stuck there. So, yeah, it was.
But yeah, the banking and the straights really do give the chance. You know, we saw pretty much four different finishes as well, because we even saw, was it James Logston decide to give up the position and then try and slipstream back again to get Bob Humphrey, and it didn't quite work. And then we saw Tom obviously go around the outside. We had Ams was actually that was a 3/10 gap actually in the end, wasn't it? That was the one where we went, oh, actually it's a huge win for the car. And then the side by side with the rookies.
Yeah, didn't we have three thousandths of a second, 4 thousandths of a second, 3/10 of a second, and I forgot what the last wasn't.
Well, the last one must have been close for rookies because I was calling it the wrong direction. Lewis actually managed to get the better of Paul when it honestly looked like Paul had got it. So
I think for me, one of the teams that does exceptional liveries is that Team Bear Pulp. I think they really put a lot of effort, and you know, it's probably the unsung heroes of the team is the paint designers. I mean, you look at all the cars; some of the liveries are amazing that put us in, and it's a lot of effort to go in to try and get these pictures.
There's a couple of them.
Oh, there you go. Oh, there we go. We got two.
And also, you got so many different cars as well. Because I mean, Bear Pope have used the Porsche, the Audi, the Lamborghini. I think the only one they haven't jumped in is the Ford.
Yeah, but it's not just the one, is it? I mean, you look at Fuji. They had a special Japanese one for Fuji and Suzuka that they came across.
Which
and,
it's apparently coming back out for Fuji as well. So,
well, you would hope so. We're going back to Japan, so I mean, there's a couple of the finishes that we just seen there at the end. But I mean, look how close that is. I mean,
that was
the Pro-Ams.
Yeah, that was a Pro-Ams for about. I think that was actually near the back of the Pro-Ams. It was Russ, Alex, and I'm not sure who's nearest.
I'm not sure who that is. Michael.
Was that Michael Cody, isn't it?
It's Michael Cody. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Cody. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look how close that is.
Thank you, Tom. In the background, whispering in our ears. We're not that good.
So it's not only just the first place; it just promotes such great racing. I mean, this is the Pro.
I think that just shows how far Tom was ahead. That he got to come back and have a look at that and notice who it was.
Yeah, exactly. And there we go. There's Bob Humphrey and
James Logston.
James Logston's.
That's how close.
That was a strange move, wasn't it? That was a strange move.
It was a strange move, but I think what happened for James is he did it, but did it too late. Because if that picture was 5 frames later, James was ahead, and it was one of them where James let him through to try and get the slipstream, but probably just did it a little bit too late. And it was, but then if they'd started braking to sort of fight each other for a slipstream, Michael Hooper was about 4 lengths just behind him, and would have got both of them. So it wasn't really an option. It was flat out, and if you want to try and get the slipstream, get it, but it's a huge risk. But I think James sort of probably knew he wouldn't have won it anyway if he kept him right behind. So he's got to try something else, and he did. And that is the AM battles. That's probably Sander, Gordon. That wasn't
Pro. This is a Pro one we're looking at.
Oh, sorry. I tell you the problem. I'm looking at the YouTube channel. I've got the YouTube channel and what we got in front of us.
Shocking.
It's getting used to this new system. That's what it is.
Yeah, so I mean, you can just see how close they are, and you know, big thanks goes out to Thomas Cope for doing the pictures that the drivers can use on their social media if they so wish to, but obviously give a nice welcome and to Thomas Cope and Simography. I mean, he does it for nothing. He hasn't asked us for anything in return. He just does it for the love and enjoyment of making pictures and you know they are cracking pictures, aren't they?
Well, I suppose we can embarrass him a little bit and sort of say that he hasn't asked for anything. We can also say congratulations to him for making the Porsche Cup field. Himself and Scott Mokes have made it into the pro. Well, Tom into the pros and Scott into the AMs, so they'll be taking on the best of British in the Porsche Super Cup.
Definitely, you know, he's a
The
very quick,
GB
very quick
iRacing one, not that they're not giving them. We wouldn't give Tom a Porsche, not just yet.
No, definitely not. And Scott being in the AMs at 4.7k just shows the strength of field in that one, and he's a pro in our series. I mean, wow. Imagine if he was in the AMs in this one. Well, I think we get a few people saying, can he not move up? I don't know. But
not heard that all season. I think we've got back. Nobody's mentioned that all season.
No, definitely not.
Sorry, I just saw that picture beforehand and thought Arias was up in the air actually.
Yeah, I did.
I just clicked quickly and went, hang on a minute.
Yeah, what's Arias fine for? I don't know.
Lag.
But no, we got some great drivers, great liveries, and you know, Thomas just does it justice to be able to get the pictures that he does do. And I think obviously everybody in the chat at the moment and everyone obviously in the Discord channel really appreciate Thomas for what he does and the time he takes to do it. And obviously he is actually producing this new edition of the Pit Stop with the nice new graphics and the split stream. But let's have a little move over now to probably the crux of why everybody joins these lovely pit stops is to have a look at the penalties from Daytona. So here we go. Let's get into the crux of where we're at. So let's just dive straight into it. Let's just do that. So the first one is Mads Sayer with Joe Sal, race 1, lap 1. So let's find him.
Let me just find the penalty sheet myself so I can read up while you're finding it.
Right, so there's Joseph Sal.
Okay, we've got a turn 2. Oh yes, yeah. I do know what this one is because we did have a quick look at it after a race. Because I will admit, you guys are quick with your entries.
Yeah, I think it's probably the quickest we've had about 8 different.
I think all. Well, actually, I looked through these. I spoke to Thomas Cope afterwards, and actually, and Tom Bingham, and some of these entries were in before the race had even finished. So that shows how good people were. But yeah, if we've got right laps and right times, brilliant.
Let's have a look. So here, let's have a look at this. So loses it. You can see he's got him on the brake, trying to accelerate out. Wow. Okay.
So initially, just off that, there was no contact for the Porsche's Joseph. Just lost control through there on the cold tyres, which is obviously like a new thing that we generally get. Maybe lack of practice on the colder tyres may not have helped. Brake lights are going on to get the car slowed down. Comes off them to try and power around because you can see the tyres spinning up. So we can see exactly what he's trying to do, and it's not quite working because the grass is like ice. And then he's spinning backwards, and I think it's pretty much pure luck at this stage whether he hits somebody or gets through.
Yeah, I don't think it's any fun. I think obviously with the new tyre model as well, I've had a lot of people say, I mean, I haven't really had a lot of experience with the new tyre model, but it's pretty much if you hit the grass, it's like almost like being on ice. I think what we can see there, and we can see the brake lights are on there, is that he coming around here, he loses it, puts the brakes on, you can see him there, tries to accelerate out to not hit the field, and then unfortunately comes across.
And does get back on the brakes. We do know that one.
Yeah, so I mean, as bad as it is, because he does hit a few drivers, he did what he could, I think, to avoid the incident.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, it's just a lap of where it was on the grass, I think.
Yeah, I think you're probably right on that one. I'm not sure there's a huge amount that Joseph could have done about it once he's lost the car. It's just going to slide across the grass, and if the grass is as slippery, I've not been able to test it myself that much, but grass is always slippery, whether it's the new format or the old format, and you could just see he just loses control. He's on the brakes, trying to get it stopped. Continues to brake, but it just doesn't stop. I
think he was very much a passenger. I mean, it's not, and it is unfortunate, and we'll probably have a look at a few at the end where it's unfortunate that other people are involved and hits, and I bet Joe's obviously quite gutted.
I mean, with that
happened.
With the penalty coming in, I can understand why somebody, obviously Mads took the brunt of it, and also I can understand the explanation given on why they thought it was a penalty. But there's no touch to send Joseph round, and it's just one of them that just sadly collects. I think that's Daniel Slater as well in there, isn't it? In the red. Just there's no touch to send him round. He just loses control.
I was just thinking, is there any sort of net code which makes the
I honestly think he's already gone before.
Probably has, but
he's gone here.
Net code, yeah, you can sort of see. It's very, very strange how the car kicked out like that, though.
Yeah, I think it was because he was quite offline as well. Cold tires, maybe a little bit too much power as well. But as you can see, it's just spat him out the other way as it's gripped up. It's almost like if you've watched motorbike racing, a high side, where it just suddenly loses it and then grips up and throws you off the other way, and tank slapper, I think they call it in the cars. And
so my verdict on that is a racing incident.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a lot Joe could have done about that, and it's just unfortunate that somebody got collected on the other side of it. Anywhere else on the circuit, and it probably wouldn't do, but because of the switchback nature of this circuit, it's just the way it goes.
So the next one is Eric Stongen with against Casper Tungsten. So going into the banking exit at turn 6R, I do remember this one.
Yeah.
Reasoning is an unsafe re-entry. Something happens with Casper, making him stay under the banking. When he tries to rejoin the banking, he loses his car and takes at least 3 cars down with him, me included. So I do remember this one.
Yeah,
I think Casper knows this was coming anyway.
Yeah, we had we had this on the stream, I think, as well, and
yeah, we did. Yeah.
A lot of it will be to do with how broken his car was by the time he rejoined onto the circuit as well. So if it was broken and he had no control over it, there's not a lot you could do, but we'll see. I would like to point out that there's another penalty in, which is the same incident of Copeland and Casper.
22.
That's something we can work together, merge together.
Okay, indeed.
Which is what we'd expect from drivers. We'd expect if they've been caught up in each, we could, we expect both of you to get to sort of appeal it. Just to mention in the chat, can we see if he's on the brakes going backwards? I can confirm that he was, because we did have it. Because obviously the penalties come in so quickly last week, we even had a chance to have a look at one of them before we actually got to, just to see, because we had missed it on the opening lap, and we had a look and we saw that he was on the brakes, so that was pretty much easy one.
He spun. We saw he spun. He was on the brakes to try and stop. He then came off the brakes to try and accelerate to try and slow himself down because he was facing the wrong way, and he probably knew where he was going. Then when he went back onto the grass again, he tried to hold his brakes. So he did what he tried to do.
It's kind of that stage of it's too late and you just do what you can. But anyway, on to Casper. This is him joining the. Oh no, this isn't. This is Eric. There's Casper. So
just have a look. See.
We can already see he's had his incident. Oh yeah, it was coming onto a banking, wasn't it? So he's lost control across the curb.
Got hit
by Alex.
yeah.
But obviously nothing Alex could do there. Yeah, sorry, Casper, we're going to have to look through this. You can put as many sad faces in the chat as you like. Yeah, so obviously that car, I think if you go on board with him, we'll see that the steering is broke. Now, obviously where he's rejoined thinking the car isn't broke, obviously. Let's just have a look here. So this is a spin up on the curb.
Let's try and get the full screen.
Tries to save it. Might have saved it, but obviously was going around quite a bit, and then obviously Alex had nowhere to go. Did the right thing in turning down towards the tarmac. Because obviously you don't want him going up into cars on the banking. Because obviously, I think also to the other drivers, this would obviously look like a rejoin across the banking to apron apex, which would cause the issue trying to rejoin. So he's got so he's rejoined the circuit fine, and then it's either gone away or the steering's broke.
Well, I mean, I think the thing for me, we'll watch it back at normal speed now to see, but you can clearly see that the steering has gone on this.
That's what I'm thinking, because it suddenly goes towards the right.
It's gone. Look at his position of his steering wheel when he's trying to rejoin. What should probably have happened is stay well clear, because if you look in his screen in the top right, you see all the cars go in there. The car was.
What it was is, as soon as you've hit the accelerator, I think what's happened is the toe at the back is broke. So when you've accelerated, the power going through it, and the wheels suddenly got to a certain speed, it spat you off. Because obviously the wheel isn't straight. And I mean the wheel on the car, not the steering wheel.
I mean, it's like literally
like here, it just gets speed and then throws you off. Obviously being on the banking,
I think the banking exaggerates the issue for sure.
Because obviously the pressure is different on different sides of it. But yeah, well, before we had an incident at Sebring where we got somebody penalised because they carried on with a broken car, but that was because they broke it in the final corner, got to the first corner, and were not aware of the damage that was caused to their car. I can't remember whether it was a penalty or just a warning. I can't remember, but anyway. This is different because Casper has only just got going. So he's probably not expecting any damage to his car. And then obviously it just
he knows his damage,
up.
But we all know that you can drive a damaged car, albeit I think the mitigating circumstances here why it's not a level 3, and this is my fault, is that the car was damaged. You know, his rejoin was okay. He stayed really low in the track.
Left,
there was plenty of room on the track to do it, and I think the banking of that section really kicked that car out because the off-camber nature of that banking that put him round. Now, I would say, I mean, personally, I think it's a level 2 because otherwise, I know he's trying to get round to track, but you can see in his screen, literally the cars are not that far behind. So, you know, one of the questions what I would say is, well, why not just stay down on the apron, well out of the way the rest of them? Why put yourself in harm's way with the drivers? But as you can see, you know, when he's going around, he comes round, he's still going sort of straight here, trying to get back on, so it's not too bad. As soon as he gets onto that banking section, bang, the back end goes out on him and then busy. So I just don't think he knew the amount of damage that was caused on his car, but he would have had the meatball flag for that 100% for sure. So that's the mitigating. What I think is that, you know, it's not a level 3 because the rejoin isn't poor.
Oh, yeah.
He still had it, but the damage on that car was extensive enough that any sort of movement with that sort of damage, he just spun out and then took out quite a few drivers, I think.
Yeah, I mean, myself, obviously not going off literally the wording of a ruling, personally, I would say it's hard to judge because obviously you should be judging your damage as you get back on circuit, which you could have done down, and obviously we don't know how the new damage model would have changed it or whatever. You know, it's the first race where he may have got damaged, so I wouldn't know the damage. That's why with the mitigating circumstances, I'd say level 1, because it wasn't dangerous rejoin. It was just maybe not quite knowing how much damage there should be. In terms of rejoining onto the circuit, I think it was safe to do so. You know, he didn't lose the car because of the gradient or anything like that. It was more building up to a consistent speed, because he got onto the gradient absolutely fine. And yeah, I don't think he lost it due to the gradient. He lost it due to the damage.
Well, I think it was a combination of the two. I think it was the gradient as well that didn't help the car, because you can sort of see here when he was down here, he was controlling the car. As soon as he got onto this gradient, the back end just stepped down, so almost like it slid down the track, and then that's what put him around. The only thing that I sort of the mitigating for me is the fact that, you know, he knew his car was damaged because the steering was completely off. Now, obviously, we don't know if it was a meatball. You would imagine it would be with that extensive steering lock on there that he was trying to do to keep it. And then obviously having that much lock, which means your tyres, your back tyres are turned around the other way. As soon as you go onto that banking, you are going to do. But I suppose in the heat of the battle, you're not doing it. So for me, the rejoin was completely fine. I think the problem is that maybe there could have been where he stayed down onto the apron, well out of the way of everyone, just to try to get back to the pits. But he did.
Yeah. Just to go on your comment, Casper, about we told you that you don't use below the yellow line as a racetrack. Now we also said if you have to go below it for safety, then obviously we can't mitigate that or whatever. But obviously if somebody wanted to put in a protest, then we could look into it and see whether it was for a reason they couldn't control. Personally, if you knew before you went onto the oval that much damage, then obviously I'd be saying to Andy, yes, I completely agree. It's level 3. It's a massive no-no, because you've rejoined the circuit with a heavily damaged car. Now you're telling us we can't tell you either way whether you knew it was that damaged. We can't do that. You know, that's not our. We have to rely on you telling us the truth, and you have done as far as we know. So I would say that it coming onto the banking wasn't an issue, but it became an issue because of the damage we had. So that's my sort of look at it.
I mean, it's definitely not. You didn't. I don't think you've done too much wrong in the fact that you rejoined. You know, where we're talking about poor rejoins is basically a blatant just driving back onto the track erratically. I think you had a bit of thought about you. You could see the cars coming up behind you, but you stayed down low in the track. The problem is your back end was that damaged that it flicked you round and flicked you into the cars coming around. So let's I just want to go over...
just to clear you up, Casper, I think we've said that it's not a penalty free because of mitigating circumstances. So
yeah, we're not saying by the way, also, Casper, that has no bearing how many points you lose on what we're going to give you, mate. We're trying to be as fair as we can be across the
Mads, if you are still in the chat, I will. If we get time, we'll go back and I'll show you that he was on the brakes, but we'll sort everything else out first.
I'm just trying to. Where is it? Oh, typical. I've got the wrong page.
There we go. I can't even scroll because my mouse has decided to die. Oh no, it's back again.
Shocking.
It's alive. 56-point penalty performance link. Yeah, Mads. We'll try and get to it to show you, because we did see his brake lights were on. The only time I think they weren't was for a moment while he was trying to accelerate away. So we will we'll look into it afterwards. Well, because that's what we do this podcast for. We do it to be open and honest and clear, and we'll just if we do seem like we're forgetting, just pop it in to remind us, and I'll show you the best we can. We'll get this one done first.
Yeah. So is it a level 1 or is it a level 2? I suppose
I think it's just down to
about it. I mean, I've got to probably
or,
say, without looking at the chat, so I don't know what everyone's saying, which is what I'll try to do. I suppose at level 1, level 2 is there for very much punting somebody up the rear and stuff like that. I think he did have damage on his car. He knew he had damage. He tried to get onto the track. Maybe in hindsight, he should have stayed down low to just stay well out of the way. Got onto the back and basically lost his car that caused extensive damage to other cars around him as well. So, yeah, I'd go with the level 1 on that one, I think.
Yeah.
It wasn't blatant.
Yeah.
And the reason, before everybody starts jumping in and saying he took out loads of cars, yes, he did. But the thing is, it wasn't malicious. It was basically just the damage of his car that did that to
it wasn't a misjudged move.
No.
It was just, it had so much damage, he didn't realise it was going to...
In hindsight, and obviously hopefully you'll take that on board, is that, just be aware, if your car's that damaged, you're going to be going on a severely cambered corner, if that is, or any other corner, and you just want to get back to the pits. Just basically be aware of your surroundings, and you don't need to get on. If you don't need to get on the racing track, don't. You've already lost. You've already got incident points for it. So get a 0-8.
In terms of like we say about the banking and the apron, if you're trying to crab a broken car around, we're not going to expect you to jump onto a racing line or try and cross the racing line. Crawling around off the apron is absolutely fine. We're not going to penalise you for actually still losing time. So that's we'll try and clear that one up a little bit better maybe in the briefings as well, just so that you don't get slightly confused by that. Because obviously we've also got to point out that there is, for some people, English is the first language, and we've got to remember it's a multicultural, multi-countryed, multi-languaged championship. So, we need to be as clear as we can to you all. Yeah, Casper, it was just the judgment that you had a broken car and maybe didn't think of a banking. But I can understand it. You're rushing back straight into a race. It's difficult. This looks quite similar to Sebring.
So we've got Aaron here, Jacob Berens there, coming up into the...
Who's behind, sorry?
So that's Aaron Powell.
Aaron Powell, yeah. That is very similar to, as I say, the final corner at Sebring. We had a few of them. We get...
Wow, that is late breaking, that as well.
That's either late breaking or really early breaking.
Let's have a look. Let's just have a look at, say, lap 2.
Yeah, it was the thing on the right hand side. Need to go back a bit. It's the tarmac on the right hand side where the Ford braked. I mean, personally, I do think it was a little bit early, but then I've never driven a Ford GT, so you might have to brake at 600 meters.
Here, and I think that's where he actually broke on that, and bear in mind that that's lap 1 as well. So
is that on lap 1? Yeah, okay. I didn't realise that was lap 1.
Well, this will get a good indication. Is it lap 2? No, it's the next lap that they have their incidents. Let's have a look at it on this one. See where...
Thank you, Simeon. Yeah, we tried to feel a little bit Christmassy. I was going to put a Christmas hat on, but my daughter wouldn't let me have it. And she said it wouldn't fit. That was Was that the lap afterwards?
That's a lap before. So let's have a look at the braking markers. So
Oh, so yeah, he
basically-
does brake quite early anyway.
Yeah. Can we look via chase? Let's have a look, see where Aaron brakes. Is he braking now? Can't even tell.
He must be, because he'd be in the back of him by now.
Oh yeah, there you go. So if we go along, so he brakes now. So basically here on this corner.
Okay.
Is
So so the rear of Aaron's car is level with the bend on the left.
yes.
Okay.
We've already established. Let's have a look where. I think that's where Jakob is. So if we do it slow, you can see there.
Yeah.
So
There
basically,
we go. So that's the braking marker for them.
that's his. So let's have it. So we now know consistently where they had, and I think this may be that sort of Aaron maybe slightly misjudged it.
Yeah, it's just getting both braking markers, Team Bear Pope. It's just making sure we understand where both of them generally brake and then moving along.
A lot closer this time, so it's always a responsibility of the car behind to watch. So
Jakob's actually braked later.
no, I think he's so
I think it's.
no. He's
Oh no, there we go. Yeah.
So I think Aaron's broke a little bit later. So we saw him on the
Which
previous
obviously
one.
we understand he would if he tried to overtake somebody. You do sort of they brake, see brake lights, count to one,
So this,
then you try and overtake.
So yeah, so basically this mark here is where Aaron broke the last 2 laps. This time you can see he brakes here, so he's well after, and he's already closed the gap.
Yeah, I'd say the situation. What hasn't been judged there by Aaron is one, how much space is up the inside of Jakob, because he's expecting when he gets a bit further down, because the track bends like that, but does actually widen as it gets into that corner. So he's thinking, I'm lining it up, I'll get it ready, and then I'll just send it down the inside. Whereas Jakob's gone sort of, I would say, middle of the track instead of racing line, and sort of half defending it off. But I wouldn't say he's braked early.
No, he's certainly not braked early. I think he broke exactly the same place as he did the previous lap. So to me, it's obviously Aaron's tried to make the passing move, but there wasn't really, or there was room on his right to maybe go out and slightly sort of misjudged it. So what are we thinking on that?
I think it's very similar to the ones we had at Sebring in the final corner, where we just had people misjudge the braking. And actually, the Sebring ones were probably slightly worse because they're further back, whereas this is like obviously is right up behind Jakob. So I'd say it's a high level 1, low level 2, depending on the wording of the rules and consistency of the rules.
So stage 2 is awarded for causing extensive damage to another car in the form of loss of position and time, changing racing line in an aggressive manner, which he doesn't do, or under braking. So we can sort of see here, and I think that does that meatball. Let's have a look with Jakob's car.
I'd presume it probably did damage it quite a bit.
Pretty,
Oh yeah, he towed. I think he towed from this.
Well, you can see there, you can't even steer. You can see the left-hand side of the car.
I think there's actually almost a wheel missing, and that's why it's dragging along to get rid.
I think a level 2.
Yeah, I find that acceptable as well.
Okay.
More because he's had to go and tow afterwards. I know consequences don't always come into it, but if he was able to drive away from that, and they're so close together, you could probably go, oh, maybe it's a level 1, maybe it's a level 2, but because he can't even drive away.
It's always the responsibility, guys, of the car behind to make that safe passing move. If you hit the back of the car, you've got to expect a penalty because you're the one in control of that incident, you know,
Yeah.
or that passing move. You would only, you know, you should only really try and pass. I understand why the passing move was possibly attempted. It went wrong, and unfortunately, that's where we ended on that. So the next one is Alexander Scuret with Russ Fowler, lap 29. Let's have a look. Alexander Scuret, where are you at? Lap 29. Where is it? So let's see what it says. Turn 1. Okay.
Don't mind me. My mouse has actually died now, so that can. Luckily, I'm not controlling it.
I'm supposed we did have a lot more turn 1 incidents. To be fair, you know.
Yeah, I mean, everybody sort of judged that quite nicely. So this was a penalty of. So the appeal was by Alex, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Right, so I suppose a bit of context to this corner is that so Russ is currently in the lead, I think. Yeah, so you can see Alex.
It's got some slipstream, and also the break point for this corner is if you go to actually you might see it here on the right hand side. There's a yellow box or a yellow sign. We were using this in the Daytona 24 to sort of judge ourselves as a break point.
I always use this.
Just there, actually, it was.
I use that intersection between the white and the line. That's mine.
Yeah, it's pretty much about the same point. So it's difficult because they're both sort of Russ comes out, but then Alex comes in, type thing. Anyway, is that the actual incident, or is there something else?
Let's have a look. Let's just see the rest of this corner. No, I think that is it. Let's just forward it past. No, so that is the incident.
Realistically, myself, I'd say there's nothing in it because both drivers, as you could probably see on my hands, both Russ has come slightly out and Alex has come slightly in, and now I'm covering my face. You can all be happy.
It's a natural. I suppose it's a natural line of that corner that you do when you're coming into braking because of the camber of the corner. And
I'd also say Russ is on. Being on the brakes, you probably can't get it turned as much. So if he has noticed Alex is on the outside, what he's done is come off the brakes slightly to get it turned, but just a little bit too much speed in there. But
it's literally side by side, and then obviously Alex just gets a little slightly ahead here, but they're pretty much. If
you look at the darkened racing line and you go forward to just about here, so you can see Russ is coming out. But then Alex's front end is coming in, and that's where the two are just trying to judge. Like, I think Russ has kept his wheel straight because what he's trying to do is get the car slowed down, and he knows if he turns, he'll probably just wipe Alex out. You know, if he turns more while he's braking, it's just not going to. Yeah, I can understand why Alex would appeal that and go, "Oh, excuse me, what are you trying to do?" But when you look at it back, Russ is just trying to get this car slowed down, in my view.
I think that's just hard racing between the two of them. I mean, there's no damage to the cars. You can sort of see here.
There's no malice.
Going, still fighting, battling. I think it was a close battle for.
I honestly just think he's braked late, hasn't he? He's braked late, got it a little bit late, and just almost forced Alex wide, but it's not like it's not caused any damage to anybody. It's not really cost Alex because he wasn't going to get the position in that corner anyway from where he was. He wasn't going to go around the outside because Russ wasn't going to lane break. So like you say, it's just a bit of hard racing, and he's not forced him off the track on purpose.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and obviously, as we can see there, they were battling that whole lap, and I think for the rest of the racing too. And we even saw on one of Thomas Cope's picture right at the end, it was Alex and Russ was still in the same thingy. So I think it is.
I would say the Audi is turning in
Well, he's
a
trying to
little
make the
bit as
corner,
well.
isn't he?
So yeah.
I mean, the cars are side by side. It's not like one was massively ahead of the other, and he came cut across, or Ross came from behind and literally tried to dive down the inside. They were going side by side into turn number 1, which is always a bad idea on Daytona, and it's always going to be. But you know, to me, I think that was hard racing. A little bit of bump, no damage was caused, and.
And there's no malice in it.
Alex actually got the position back off Russ. We saw there by a fair move. So,
just in reply to Team Bear Pope, it doesn't mean a BTC shove will be a level 1. It will be judged accordingly each time. So don't think, I might get away with that. It'll be a level 1. So it will be judged differently each time depending on consequences, depending on what happens, where it happens, what everything. As we've always said, each one will be different. Even if it was 2 cars going into the same corner at the same speed, it will always be different because you cannot ever in motorsport judge the 2 together.
Takes us back to the very first incident in Watkins Glen, if I remember rightly, where it was a last corner incident between I think it was Patrick and Tom Stevens, I think it was, where Patrick slid into Tom. We gave it as a penalty, but then on review, it was basically deemed as a racing incident, as hard racing. And I think this one is probably even less than that one.
Yeah, this one's far less.
Side by side, so that's sort of why we're looking at the racing incident. So, okay, so the next one is Gordon Haig with Steve Pierce. So let's have a look. Where's Mr. Haig? Like we say, guys, if you do not agree, or you do not agree
you've still
with our
got
decisions, you've got your appeal that you can use. So if you do feel that we might not have looked at something else that you can highlight, then please, by all means, you've got that right to appeal.
And to be clear, it goes to an independent case of drivers who race online and in real life, and I don't know who they are. Andy doesn't know who they are.
They look at the incident and then they look at it.
The only person who knows who they are is Tom, because he sends the incident to them. So, he doesn't have a say in it either. So
26.
That's looking good, because that looks like Steve right behind. So hang on, you say we haven't had many incidents in turn 1, and then we've got a 2 on the trot. Oh.
Now this is probably the opposite of what we were just looking at. So the cars were going side by side.
Yeah.
You can see how, in fact, if we look back at Steve, so Steve is a bit further back than what Gordon is. But let's have a look at it at real time.
Now, while normally I would turn around and say it's a guaranteed level 2 to Steve, because he's gone for a gap that's closed and he's the one who's run into the car, I would also say that the Porsche does make quite a dramatic change in line. Like, he's gone to the outside and then he is following racing line, but it is very, sort of the gap's there for Steve, and then all of a sudden it's not. But I think it may be turning in a little bit earlier than Steve expected. Like, there's not the malice there to take the Porsche out. I think it's just a...
To be honest, that is the racing line. So you go into it nice and flat, and then you try and get the inside.
I think Steve's seen the gap, gone for it, and then the gap shut, basically. Yeah. And that's why I don't think you can look at it as a malice incident, which is where level 3 comes into it.
It's not level 3 now.
It is.
But...
Oh, that was a weird angle, because that actually... That angle kind of looks like the Porsche loses the back end slightly, but I think that's just the way iRacing has built it.
I just don't think you're going to make that corner. I think you're
No,
going
I
too
don't.
hot into that corner. Looking at the onboard shot,
It does look
wasn't
slightly
really there. You're quite. To me, it was quite far back.
Could we sorry, do it
then
on
you
chase
backed
cam
off.
of the Porsche?
Yeah, I'm just looking at this
Yeah.
again. So you give him the room there. He then goes out wide to come into the racing line, and you try to get up his inside. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
think
the door was
Porsche-
always going to shut.
Yeah, the door was never going to be open to make that move. Unfortunately, I think.
I am just more curious whether the. Sorry, I'm just going to have to plug my mouse in because it's annoying me that I can't do anything. Where it's one of these wires here somewhere. Give me a sec. Oh, it looks like it's that one. Is it that one there? Are you going to see my lovely checkered trousers? Oh, and there goes me light. I knew that was going to happen at some point tonight. That's what you get for balancing a light above your camera. There we go. I'm back. I think. Yeah, it's balanced. There we go. Back to it. Yeah, if we could just do chase cam on the Porsche that got hit. It just really looked like the back end stepped out, but it might have been just the way iRacing builds a car to turn into the corner. So, like, he goes in, and then, yeah, it's just the way it turned in. That's.
I mean, that is probably the normal line, because you come in, you go out, and you come around to try to get this
my mouse
inside to
works.
accelerate it out. I think, obviously, you know, the car on the outside, as you can see further back, that Steve wanted to come out round here. So you can see it here. Fire chase. He was getting overtaken on the outside. Was looking at coming out. Thought better of it. Stayed down low. Obviously lost some speed there. To me, it's whether he would have made that corner with the speed he was still going.
I think he would have made it, but obviously the door was just shutting, and it's sort of one of them. He commits, and then the door starts to shut, and it's too late not to commit. But the door was always going to kind of shut, because with that overtake move, you need to be alongside at least by now, so they know you're there, and you're not by much. You're late to the party.
I think it was maybe a poor. I think it was a poor judgment from Steve to try and make that move. To be fair, but he did. I suppose I will give him that there was a gap there. But the natural line for that corner for the car in front of Gordon is you come out, you come round turn one, you come out wide, and then you cut back in to try and get around the exit, so you get a really good slingshot, which is what Gordon was looking at. You know, I think, Steve, you were a little bit far back to make a move into that corner.
I would say you're literally a split second too late to the party. That's how I'd put it.
Yeah, you're too far back there to make a move without any contact going to be naturally made, because the driver in front, who was literally, I mean, sort of at that point there, you're almost a car length behind Gordon. So Gordon's, you know, as he's got the right of way, he's in the front, there's nobody on this. If you were, say, round here, that's a different matter, because you know, you've got that opportunity, you've got that inside line over Gordon.
You're having
to
outbrake him by a hell of a lot to get up the inside there. You're catching him quick, but like Andy says, if you were sort of sniffing around the rear of his car by the time you got to that point, you've got a chance, because he won't turn in. But as soon as he turns in, you're not really alongside before he even turns in.
No, I mean, if you carry on really slow,
he turns in there. That's where he started to come across.
I think you've already committed to trying to get down that inside, but Gordon was going on to the inside line. He was always going to naturally close off his corner, because that is the racing line. The racing line is not out here and then coming back in. That is the racing line. So it is a penalty, but what is it? I mean, what's your thoughts on it?
My take is, we've had these misjudgments into the rear of people at Sebring, which was level 2, I think. I'm going to have a look on the sheet. That's why I wanted to charge my mouse up. Just looking at the chat, glad to see that Mads has great fashion sense like me with my trousers, but I'm just trying to find what was Sebring race 2, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What is the corner of race 2? Final corner. There we go.
Sunset Bend, isn't it? But that's I suppose.
Yeah,
it's very similar to that, isn't it?
They were kind of level 2s, which gives us some kind of something to work off, is what I mean. I'm not saying it is a level 2. I'm just thinking of a similar incident that gives us an idea.
The thing for me is that there is a possible gap there. I think the natural line is that gap would close anyway. But I suppose if you're in the heat of the racing and a gap that much, there is, you can sort of see here, there's 3/4 of the gap in there to try and put the car in. I think, Steve, you probably did think that you could get it, but there was just no chance that you were going to get it, because the natural line, as you well know, is to come in to hug this bend on the inside. So
what's your call? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking I don't know. It's a level 1 or 2, and I'm split between which one it is, to be fair.
I mean, the other way I'm looking at it, and this doesn't mean we look at everything like this, but the one way you could look at it is that Gordon, obviously, Gordon and Steve, I look at the penalty sheet. I know this doesn't actually come into, don't think, oh, well, I'm not on a penalty sheet, I could do this, that, or whatever. But these two don't come up on the penalty sheet. It's not so to me, that means it's pretty much just a not even a rookie error, but sort of like just a mistake by Steve. I presume Gordon could carry on from that, and it looks like is there any damage? That's not crabbing, is it? That doesn't look like it's crabbing to me. It just no, I think it's just a bit Gordon being a bit gingerly into the corners just to make sure everything's okay. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's crabbing as such. It might be a little bit, but nothing that means it's unraceable. It's that borderline, isn't it? It really is that borderline between the two. Between a 1 and a 2, because it's a 2. For me, it's a 2 because of the type of incident, but then the gap was there to go for. It wasn't a silly attempt to try and overtake something. It wasn't like he was taking too much speed in. He just thought there's a chance, went for it. And I honestly do think he would have stopped for the apex. I mean, if you find out, what's the speed when he makes contact?
110.
Yeah, so he's going to get slowed down for that corner, because I think you can take that at roughly 90 to 100. I think you can. I can't quite remember, but and what was Gordon's speed over contact? So that will give us a good indicator whether, obviously, Steve was
125, 111, 110. But he's on more of the line. Obviously,
yes,
Steve's taking a lot shallower line, so it needs to be a lot slower than the outside. So,
but sort of Steve's speed isn't, shall we say, not malicious, but like not over the top. He's not coming storming in there like a raving lunatic.
No, I think
he would have made
Steve's
the corner.
I think I'm gonna say a level 1, and I'll tell you the reasons why I think it's a level 1. We've seen obviously punts in the past where there was just no chance you were going to make it. There was an opportunity to get that move done. I think it was you can sort of see he does try to back out of it, and he's not going to do it. So I think it's a mistake. Certainly is a mistake. You can sort of see here, he's going into the corner, he's braking there, sees a gap, comes off slightly. It's only fractional that he does come off them brakes.
Yeah.
And we obviously talked about it before. You know, you're trying to stop yourself coming into this first corner. You naturally go straight anyway.
I would say, I would agree with you on level 1. I would say it's a level 1, literally on that limit to level 2.
Yeah,
but because you're not storming in there, you know, your speeds are quite similar, but obviously you're on a narrow line, and that's why you catch him up. That's why I think it's.
Well,
it's
just a difference there.
It's just a misjudgment.
115. I think Steve's a lot faster. So Steve's at 128 at this point.
Yeah.
And Gordon's at 115.
But also, Gordon, is he still on the brakes where Steve is? Because obviously Gordon may have got slowed down for the corner, where Steve's trying to make the overtake, so he might not. So he would have braked later and harder. That's why the chance was there, like you said, and that's why I still say it's a level 1.
Okay, we'll go with a level 1 and see.
Yeah,
I think
obviously
it's a level 1 on where it is.
You know, it's one of them. You know, this is something we've said in the penalties before. If Steve thinks, you know, I don't think we've ever said this. If in this example Steve thinks a level 1 is harsh, he can appeal it. If Gordon thinks a level 1 is not enough, then he can appeal it. But at the end of the day, I think that's just about fair in both.
I think Steve obviously came off worse. Gordon did spin. But did manage to keep ahead of Steve coming out.
It happens in racing, doesn't it?
A lot of bearing, but
it generally happens in racing, and things happen, and you misjudge a move. I've done it millions of times. You go for a move that looks on, and you just misjudge it. We do have, as I say, I think, what is it 3 more?
No, I agree. I agree with what you're saying, Team Bear Pope. He's in the lead and he does do it.
Yeah.
We're not saying that there wasn't.
That's why we're not penalising him.
That's why we're not saying it's just a racing incident, because it's not. It is a penalty against Steve. And
Steve has caused contact, and he's also tried for a move that disappeared.
To be fair, it was avoidable contact, but there was the initial opportunity, because it was 3/4 of a track going into the corner to maybe have that opportunity to make that move into there. So that's what it is. So
Steve's been caught red-handed.
Yes, you have.
Yeah, naughty Steve. But it's the first time we've had to speak about you this season, so that's always good.
Right. So the next one
if you get to round 9 and we haven't spoke about you yet, that's pretty good going.
So this is from Bob Humphrey against Tom Bingham. Lap 1 all over the track. So let's have a look.
Yeah, if you're a regular on the show, you know, like.
Whoa,
hello. That wasn't even the incident we're looking at.
Yes, that's yeah.
So that is Tom
behind.
Gets a good start. Oh. Yeah, we'll go back to that afterwards. Did you just say all over the track?
Yeah.
Not really sure what I'm seeing from.
No.
Nice move on Casper. You going to do Russ? Up the inside. The performance loop boys trying to take each other out. Oh.
I'm not seeing anything there.
It does say all of lap 1, doesn't it?
It just says lap 1 all over the track.
Yeah.
So we can't look at the whole lap for. I mean, it's got to be a specific. I mean, if we look at that, that's fine. That's fine.
Just watching him fast. Not seeing an issue here.
This is battling hard between the teammates. No, there's No erratic driving in my eyes in that.
There is absolutely zero.
Okay. No further action. Is my eyes?
Yeah. No disrespect to people, but if you actually have an incident to appeal, fair enough. But this is one thing which did come up with the things that were sent. Can you please? It does say what lap and what corner. Could you please give us kind of an idea what the incident is meant to be? Because Tom Stevens says there isn't an incident. I think it was a joke between the two. Yeah, well, the penalty sheet isn't what to use as a joke because we don't know that. We're sitting here using our own time to do
my
this.
valuable time, Mr. Humphrey.
Yeah.
Even my hair's getting out of place now with that one. Yeah, so no incident there.
Yeah,
so
no protest at all.
Okay, so we've
that.
got
I think
Michael
Nathan.
Cody on Nathan. Right,
yeah.
So we've already penalised, and what we've done is Nathan was a latecomer to it. We'll have a look at the incident, and it's completely his fault. And obviously, I do real sympathise with Michael because he got spun out even before the lap start. So we'll have a look at it. But what we've done with this incident is demoted Nathan to the back of the grid.
Yeah.
So everybody who finished behind Nathan Maximum, obviously, if you look at the points, you've actually gained a position from where you were. So it was obviously asked out on the stream as well for him to relinquish the positions back to the back of the grid. He didn't do that, so we've literally given him a back of the grid position on that. So that's what his penalty is. But we will watch the incident.
Yeah, to clear up to others why we didn't give anything more than that. We also understand that Nathan is a newcomer. He also was trying to get iRacing to be downloaded and everything because he has to literally rush in the door and get into the race. You know, it was literally a last minute thing to race. So he didn't actually have the downloads ready. So he was downloading, didn't realise he had to be in a driver's briefing and all of these things, which we have now adapted into the rules. So they're abundantly clear. So no one has the excuse anymore, which we'll go through afterwards.
Yeah. So the problem is the rules are there to give us a guideline, but there's always going to be loopholes to the rules. And this is what we're watching. It's not stated in the rules what the drivers should do. Obviously, it's been mentioned on the briefings, but it's not in the rules. It is in the rules now of the starting sequence, because we'll see another incident that, again, I believe we can't penalise the person because it's not in the rules to state that he can't do that.
But it is now.
But we have closed that loophole, so in the future they can't. So while we're talking about rules, I might as well tell you. So on the starting sequence, what we've said now is that you are not allowed to move out of your lane until you've passed the start-finish line. So you can't make the dive that we'll see in a minute that Bob made before the start-finish line to be able to keep the cars in sequence. So you're going over the line in sequence, and then the racing can ensue and you can move out of your lane as such. So you can't move up or down the track. Now, the exception to that is if the car in front of you makes an absolute howler of a mistake and he's not keeping up the pace with the rest of the field, then obviously you're allowed to pass him.
And also to clear up that if you go to the rule sheet now, it's not on there.
No,
it's not actually. It will be updated.
It will be updated before.
I was just waiting for somebody to go, I've just been on there and it's not updated.
It's not on there. They haven't been on them.
They're just being written in a correct way. Yeah, a howler or a crash, yes, but you know, if somebody then goes and peels you, you don't take offence by it. We have a look, go, that was fair enough.
This solution we can see here, every car should stay in this formation until they pass the start-finish line, with the pole sitter keeping a constant speed, so he's not doing what we saw in Suzuka, where the cars are concertinaed and then there was an incident. So the driver, as you can sort of see here, he's had the green light. He's literally gone, and then he's probably thought,
Why is everyone going slow?
Why is everyone? And then he's obviously hit Michael there, which has put paid to Michael's race. Not ideal. But I suppose the only saving grace is, like Michael said himself, he's not fighting for the championship this year. And he had a really good battle, as we saw in one of Thomas's pictures, between himself, Russ, and Alexander. But yeah, this is completely... we were all thrown away on the broadcast. You've seen that. How the hell did he get it that far in front? Yeah,
we thought it was the pit lane lights before. But also to mention with this is, you know... You guys in the briefing had me trying to explain the start. Now, if you've ever done a rolling start in a car race, or especially, I think it's the same over in Europe in karting and things like that. It is quite easy for me to try and sort of explain a rolling start and how we need it to be done, but then it might be quite difficult for somebody to understand it. So that's why we've written it into the rules, and we've done every rule impossible to go, right, somebody could do that. Right, we're not, you know, that's into the rules, so they can't do that. And to keep you,
they will try
yeah,
to do it.
you'll probably find loopholes, but we're just, you know, like I said in the driver's briefing at the top on Sunday, but we didn't have it in writing on the rules, was about staying, if first and third are together and third gets a good start, he can't pass first before the start finish line and things like that. And it gets all quite clear. It's difficult to try and be clear. Bring Nathan on for an interview. To be honest, Nathan isn't an interview type. I personally know him to a point. Through Curve Esports, who he's racing for, because I actually
the class and explain you are savage.
But yeah, I do know Nathan from Curve Esports.
Obviously, he's been told of his error. He now knows it was his first race, so that's why we haven't been lenient, because we've literally demoted him from the back to the back of the field. So, you know, where people should have got the points for being above him, they have got the points being above him.
And to clear up things that were said in the chat, if you saw that during the race and things like that, we can't give penalties in the race because it's not in the rules to do so. So if we started giving him a black flag, then somebody would go, well, why didn't you black flag me for that? Or why didn't you black flag me for spinning in the pit lane, for example? Hey, Mr. Thompson. Well, yeah, we caught that on stream. But yeah, Nathan understands what he's done wrong, and it was all very much cleared up and dealt with.
So penalise the rest of the field. The rest of the field gained the extra place and the extra point that goes along with it. So if we had given him a level 3, the rest of the field wouldn't have got that position back. So we felt that was the best outcome for this, was the fact that we've demoted him down, so the rest of the field have got the promotion of the positions in that race. So the next one is the other rule. So we've had this one, which is basically going on green, and then we've got the next one, which is why we've changed the rules to stipulate what the starting is. So this was Bob.
Yeah. And
at the start,
if Andy doesn't mind, I'll try and explain through this, because this is something which I did bring up in the driver's briefing. If somebody wasn't in there, then that's kind of not our problem. But I'll just bring that into my full view so I can see. So here's Bob in the Lamborghini, and everybody's staying in formation. And like we said, we wait until past the sign. They've waited for a later start. They still haven't gone. There they go. The speed's building up. Now, Bob is absolutely fine passing the Audi, but because he's passed the Lamborghini on the right-hand side, he's actually gained a row of positions in the way we explain it. So this other Lamborghini, whoever that is, I think that's actually one of his teammates, ironically.
Tom
hasn't got a bad start. He may be a little slow off the start, but he hasn't got a bad start. So it's, for me, that in the rules would not constitute you should be able to pass Tom. But he's actually a whole car length past Tom by the time he gets there. So what we're going to be asking people to do is stay in formation, stay in your 2 lanes until you get to the timing line or start-finish line, whichever is dictated in the rules, which we will be going through as we go along. And you sort of stay in your order until you get to that start-finish line. So realistically, everyone should kind of go when the leader goes, and you should all move away in formation. And if somebody has misjudged it, it shouldn't be that huge speed difference that we just seen there. But Bob did.
You can't. You're right. You can't pass.
I think Patrick's right there.
He is right. He is right there. But there was a loophole in the rule, and we'll look at further incidences where loopholes in the rules have been engaged that we've now closed. So then, in the future we can penalise people for doing this. So, we're not going to penalise Bob because it's not in the rules. He's found a loophole and basically exploited it. We've now closed that loophole that it cannot be exploited.
We could also say
or future seasons.
So we could also say with Bob that he's kind of lucky because we spoke about this after when we saw it, and we said, in terms of jump start, it is a jump start, and in terms of what I said in the briefing, it is a jump start, but because it's not written down in the rules, and we can't guarantee that Bob was in that driver's briefing, then we can't really throw a penalty at it, even though I would turn around and say you're going against the race director's briefing, basically, that me and Tom gave. But so this time, Bob, you've kind of got away with it. But next time, even if you're not in, it does say in the rules now you need to attend the driver's briefing. If you don't, and you get caught on this, tough.
It'll be a penalty.
Basically,
it's stipulated what it is in the rules. So it is a penalty, and basically, it also states in the penalty that if basically you went in driver's briefing, it's sort of irrelevant now. They're the rules. That's what you got to stick by. So that's where we are on that. And we are, like you said, this is the first season. We're trying to adapt the rules to cater for everyone, and people just basically are exploiting the areas that it's not black and white. So just basically tried to do that. So that's.
I think that was all the penalties.
It was.
The only thing we have is the qualifying.
Right. So what we're trying to do in this league is make it fun and enjoyable for all our drivers. Now, what we've added another section in the rules about sportsmanlike conduct. Now, we're going to show you a clip. We've literally taken this person who did it, who will know who it is, off there. So we're not going to say who it is. We're not going to tell who it is. We're just going to look on board from this person, and then basically have a look at what he does. Now, just to give you a context of what it is he's done is basically cut the track to gain an advantage. Not to him, to maybe to somebody else as we've seen it. So the track has been cut, literally just gone straight over and missed out the turn-ins and gone through. Now, we've put this in the rule now that, it's unsportsmanlike conduct, because if you're in real life situation, you would not do that. And we would expect you guys to just follow that and basically stay on the track. Try not to give you advantage to either yourself or teammates around you from cutting it up. It also goes into the fact of, if you think, oh no, I'm not going to make it round to the end to start a new lap or get the time in before I finish it, I'm going to cut this corner to be able to do it and to be able to look at it. So, we want everybody to stay on the track, stay within the racing confines of the track, and basically. So, if our producer can just show the clip, we can see what we're talking about with what we're going to deem as unsportsmanlike.
So this driver has decided to cut the chicane, cut across, and then he avoids this car on the left-hand side and actually then brakes because from what we can see, he's giving the tow to the car which he overtook in the chicane.
Yeah. So can we just back it up there, Thomas, just so we can just do it in slow motion so that.
So honestly, there is those two things there, isn't there?
Yeah. So the first one is, we're assuming that he's helping out the car in front to try and get a better lap to give him the slipstream on the thingy. So he literally cuts the bus stop completely out here, goes straight on. As you can see his steering wheel, he's trying to get out there and then get back onto the other side. He's overtaken the car on his left-hand side, and now he's giving that car a tow around what is probably the biggest tow on this circuit.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is we put this in the rules now to penalise these sort of actions from the drivers to make sure that it doesn't happen, because what we want to do is promote good racing and not exploiting the rules out on there. So that's what we're trying to do, because it's unfair on somebody else if that guy got a tow and basically put in a real fast lap that promoted him up the places when he was clearly in front of the car before that incident where he tried to cut the bus stop up.
Yeah, I mean, for me on that one, obviously there's a draft element, but it's more likely to close that loophole for somebody. We think we've seen many people just cross the line to manage to get a qualifying lap at many of the tracks this year. Now, if you think you're going to be that close, the temptation to do that to make sure you get round for your next lap or whatever, or know that you're going to complete the next lap afterwards, the temptation would be there to do it. So that's why we've tried to close that loophole now, and also why we've left it sort of at our discretion to decide what is unsportsmanlike, because obviously
coming off the track,
along the way,
if you're cutting
yeah,
part of the track to gain over time or get that next lap in, you would never do that in these cars, probably about a 250 grand, £500,000 car. You would not cut across the grass to gain a position. This is obviously iRacing, it's a virtual world, but we want to try and keep it in the realms of reality, in that you would nobody would ever do that in real life situations. So that's what we're saying, unsportsmanlike conduct, because you would not do that in real life. And that person behind, and we're not showing it, did get an advantage of a slipstream coming around, and that person did gain positions from that effect. That person behind wasn't the person at fault or anything like that. So that's what we're saying now. We've included in just to give you a sneak of what we think is very much deemed as unsportsmanlike conduct.
In terms of obviously this person may or may have not got another lap in. That's not the thing we judged. We judged obviously the advantage given to the other car. And in terms of this situation, if you do want to know, we wouldn't be penalising the car that gets a tow, because
he hasn't done
he hasn't chosen to do anything. This person has consciously chosen to do this. In terms of something brought up about another issue I saw in qualifying was people lifting in really bad places to try and get drafts. Well, for me, that's blocking. It's a penalty. You can send us something in that's to do with qualifying. But what I would ask you to do, because we do save the replay for qualifying, but it's going to take Andy a long time to keep loading in and out of different sessions, is if it's to do with qualifying, it's probably a very short thing. So if you send us a couple of like videos of it, tape an onboard, tape a chase cam, and show us something that proves that maybe the other car was braking in the wrong place or something, and then we can use it like we've used this video. Tom's been really good at setting this video up for us, and it's, you know, if you want to get something penalised in qualifying, please feel free to let us know about it in the penalties and stuff. And let us know.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's there. It's just something that we're looking at for the enjoyment of every single racer. People getting unfair advantages is something we really don't want to do. You know, we want to have a league that's everybody's. Everyone's playing fair by the rules. You're always going to get people that are going to try to find the loopholes that we will try to plug as soon as we see it. Hence why we've probably on the fourth iteration of the rule set, just to try and nail down these slight issues that we're seeing out on track. You'll get away with it once, you won't get away with it twice, unfortunately. And we've seen this and decided to plug this sort of action, and literally deemed it in the whole bracket of unsportsmanlike conduct. So that can be anything that we deem to be unsportsmanlike.
That was the other thing, wasn't it? We couldn't think of writing a list, because if we wrote a list for sportsmanlike conduct, we would be here all day and you'd find something that's not on the list. So it is a broad action to show that the admins can take some kind of decision. Now, I can see a question there. If two people were teammates, would you penalise them both? Because it could be a team decision. The toe isn't the issue. The issue is the shortcutting of the circuit to give the toe. Now,
in that scenario, I would say in that scenario, then yes, we would probably penalise both teams, because they will be on Discord. They know exactly what they're doing, and we would probably look at penalising both parties because it's the same team. In this particular incident, they're not on the same team. So,
whether they were friends or in the same Discord, it could be something different. But
could have been something like that. But we can't penalise somebody who's not in the same team. If they were both in the same team and they did it, then that's a bit more malice. That is a teammate helping another teammate gain a massive advantage. So, we would look at it. But we will look at, obviously, all the incidents case by case.
Yeah. There is something to clear up here, that the car which we're on board with made a mistake on his lap and ended up falling behind that other car and then cut to get back in front of him. So I think the plan all along would have been to give him a toe and then swap over so that you each get a lap with toe, which is absolutely fine. The point that you've actually cut the circuit to get to that position, that's the issue. So the car that goes through the chicane, if before the chicane he had eased off and let you through and you both used the racing chicane to go on to the next lap, not an issue, absolutely fine. You can do that all you like, as long as you're not blocking somebody.
That's why it's open qualifying.
This is the shortcut situation that is the main issue here.
He completely went off track, and that's what we're sort of saying. Now, obviously, we've had one, obviously, Team Bearport saying we saw in qualifying about people braking to get better advantages of slipstream effect. Now, that is completely acceptable to do, but you cannot be on the racing line. You've got to be well off the track so you're not impeding the drivers behind you, or else that is a blocking and that is a penalty, because you're braking on the racing line. So if you're thinking of doing that and you want to get yourself into a better position to maybe use a faster car behind you to give you that slingshot at the start, you need to be well off the racing line and making it clear and obvious that you're not at speed for the drivers behind, because all you'll do is cause an incident, stop his lap time, and then that would yield a penalty 100%. It's open qualifying, and the reason why we put it as open qualifying is for that bit of tactics in the qualifying to see if you can get that slipstream effect. But you've got to do it within the realms of the rules, in that you're not to be on the racing line going 10 kilometers an hour because you want a faster line. So it's just bits and pieces like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's the penalties. Some of the new additions that we've let you guys know in the rules, but let's go back to our side by side. So there we have. We've gone through them all. We've gone through all the penalties. We've had Michael come on and join us. We've had a look at Thomas's pictures, and we've also told you about new rules into the rules document that will be out very shortly. Just getting final red pen note, I would say, before we will release it to you, the drivers. But it was a fantastic race. We've gone through the penalties, but it was a fantastic race. Super close. Some great racing out on track. One thing I would like to say, and is applaud the drivers. We've gone through 8 rounds. We've had incidents. Nowhere near what I was expecting to get in the first season. I was expecting to probably get about 20 incidents to look at per round. But on the whole, it's been super clean. There's been some super tight racing out on track. And I think, that is a credit to you, the drivers, on your ability to hold the car where it is, and to also do a lot of fair racing. So, that's a big thanks from me, and I'm pretty sure that Dave would echo that as well.
Yeah, I certainly do. We've had some great racing. Yes, we've had a few penalties every now and again, but that is racing. There's going to be incidents, especially when you're all so close to each other, and it's just the way it is.
One thing we did say we would look back on, and we have nearly forgot, is that Mads wanted to.
Oh yes, we did. Yes,
let's just go back.
It was on lap 1, so
let's have a look. Let's just get it all set up. So let's go back to the screen. So let's have a look. So we did promise Matt that we would go back.
Thank you, Matt. You just popped up in the chat at the same time. Yeah. So I'm glad somebody was remembering.
Yeah, it's lucky I've got a big brain, isn't it? Not very good at everything else, but I wear awesome shirts.
I have just realised I should stop putting my head down when I'm looking at my phone or something, because you all get to see the top of my head. And there's not a lot there at the moment.
Right. Okay. So.
See it on the stream, and it's not. No, yeah. Let's stop doing that in future. Yeah. So if you remember rightly, when we first looked at this, we switched to I think it was the rear chase for him going backwards, and then to front chase.
I'll move the camera around so you can see. So he sort of loses it here. You can see his brake lights at the back. It comes on now. So he's trying to brake and stop. He's going onto the grass. Let me just pause it there. Let me change the camera angle.
Got to bring it down.
All right, give me a chance. Jesus. So demanding, Dave.
Yeah,
he's basically he's come off now, but you can see his wheels. He's trying to spin his wheels over. It's going. So he's trying to accelerate out of the corner to try and slow himself down. Move him around a bit.
It's good with iRacing how you can manipulate the cameras so much.
Good. And there, you see there, he comes as soon as he's back on the grass. So he's trying to accelerate out of the corner, and then here he's back on the brakes, still on the brakes, still on the brakes, still on the brakes, still on the brakes. So he's trying to stop himself. So that's what we're saying. He's trying to do everything he can. He tried to accelerate as well as braking to try and mitigate his speed when he came back on.
Yeah, because if he had tried to turn as well, obviously the brakes would stop working anyway. He'd turn left, he would end up in the pack. If he turned right, he'd end up in the pack. So it's very difficult for him to go anywhere else. So yeah,
it doesn't. But I think what he was trying was that he was basically saying, I'm not going to stop by braking anyway. And obviously with the new tyre model, first lap, super cold tyres, going across grass. I think he was just trying to do whatever he could to possibly slow his sort of speed down on there. You can sort of see his wheels now sort of accelerating to try and go forward. He's just trying to do what he can to stop. But I think he was on a road to nowhere. To be fair, it wasn't going to stop with the speed coming out of that corner of where he's at. I mean, he gets back onto the brakes now. Just here. there. He's back on the brakes now, trying to stop the car. It's just
Yeah, I mean, obviously at this speed, we've all got a chance to think about it, hindsight and everything like that. In the middle, in that split moment where you try and catch a car, I mean, I think it through. So he's tried to catch a car. He's gone sideways. He's slammed the brakes on. He's maybe put a bit of power on to try and save it, and then he's put the brakes back on. And in that time, he's already into Mads. If it was full speed by the time I've even said them things, never mind thought about actually doing them. So like at full speed, you know, he gets a swapper on. He's off for oh no, there we go. It's a bit early. So he gets a swapper on. He's now trying to turn into it. He's hitting the brakes. He's accelerating. He's braking. Yeah. See, I can't even say it in the time he's there.
Super quick that he's trying to react to moving around, but then realise it is.
But Mads, you have every right, like everybody does. I think you've still got your appeal if you want to use it, and it would go to an independent case. But realistically, I think I can't see it being. Personally, couldn't see it being completely overturned, and then you'd lose your appeal, and you might need it elsewhere.
I mean, to be fair, when you're looking at it, even if he probably stayed on the brakes, he was going to come back onto track, and that's just, you know, you can't control that. I mean, it's quite savage how the car literally went that quickly.
Yeah, it's a strange one.
But it was the first lap, and the tyres are cold and everything like that. So that's why we've deemed it as a racing incident. So hopefully, Mads, that sort of explains why, and you can now see that he actually did get back onto the brakes coming across the grass. I think he tried to get out of it, realised he couldn't, and just tried to, you know what, I'll just put the brakes on and see if I can stop. But I think we saw the same sort of incidents between Scott.
I think there's a little delay there as well, wasn't there?
On that, so
I think he did
And,
choose to wait till Mads got going again as well, by the looks of that.
Yeah, I mean,
Which
it's
does
just
help.
unfortunate that he sideswiped you. These are a little bit annoying in a race, certainly that earlier on, and hopefully, by all means, have a look at your replay a couple of times.
I would also put it this way, Mads, if you do feel you want to appeal it, we're not going to say anything different. You know, that's honestly your choice. If you want to appeal it, I would try and get in the next day or so we can, or next 24 hours or so we can get it out to the people so the decision can be made before we obviously all disappear off for a bit of a break for Christmas and then back in a couple of weeks' time.
But can in the future, as far as I understood, can admins confirm this? Confirm what?
In terms of the qualifying track shortcut, it will be a penalty. There's no doubt about it.
It's in the rules.
It is unsportsmanlike behaviour. You know, we're not going to.
I think we've given it because it is trying to cheat the system. I think we've given it a level 3. It's an immediate level 3.
It would be as similar to a penalty we gave for a purposeful ramming in the first race. It'd be the same thing because it is a premeditated decision to cheat. That's the long and short of it. But because we haven't had rules to cover something, it's very difficult for us to say it is a penalty. And that's why we have now updated it. But the admins can also, but I think we also added this, you know, Tom Bingham could confirm that one with us as well.
Yeah, if we deem
if we deem anything a penalty now and it's not in the rules, we can still give a penalty.
Well, that's why we brought it.
You know, so
we basically said it's down to us as admins to deem if it's unsportsman. So if you're on the track doing your normal racing in normal racing conditions, it's not unsportsmanlike. You start going off track and do corner cutting, then expect to be penalised by unsportsman because you wouldn't do that in real life unless you came off from an incident and you were trying to get back onto track. That's a different matter. If no one's around you and you try to get a shortcut to get another lap in, that is unsportsmanlike conduct. So that will be. The person
who did it right now, he would not have a penalty because in the rules, I mean, don't get me wrong, we all sat there and went, we would have wanted to penalise it, but because the rules weren't clear and said this is a penalty, we had to make them clear to start it off.
Yeah, definitely. But hopefully, you know, and Mads, hopefully from that you see why we came to that decision. on that. Obviously, like Dave said, if you feel that you want to appeal it, you're well within your rights to, mate. So, that's just our findings out on the track. So, there we go. That's that one.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Team Bear Pope, you've got that exactly bang on. If you find something similar, and you want it bringing up, especially in terms of qualifying, if you can grab a clip of it, that would be even better, because obviously we don't always have qualifying saved, and Andy swapping back and forward in terms of sessions would be a bit longer for us on this podcast. But if it needs to be done, we will do it.
But we will also show it like we have tonight. If we find clips where drivers have been doing stuff, we will show them like we have tonight to educate the rest of the field of, we don't deem this as sportsmanlike conduct.
I mean,
and we'll penalise it.
In terms of your penalty form, I would just put the session. I don't know if I haven't used the form, so it's like race 1, race 2 or whatever. But if it doesn't say qualifying on the form, which we might be able to adapt that.
Yes,
it does. Okay, so you'd select qualifying and race. So you'd select qualifying or practice. Practice, I can't really see any point in appealing in anything in that, unless it is really like something dangerous. Qualifying, select qualifying. I would, with your qualifying, I'd select what lap you were on, so we can find it, because obviously different people will be on different number of laps. And then
exactly the same rules as
in the area of track, put the turn and reason. The reason isn't a situation where you have to go through the penalties and go, right, penalty 1.256, that's what covers it. Just tell us why you think it's a bad thing, and then penalise it.
Yeah. Definitely. We will look at anything. We haven't got lives. We love looking at penalties.
Yeah. I mean, look, we've suddenly brought these jumpers. We ain't got lives.
Yeah, exactly. What do you mean I have, Dave? I love this top. It's awesome.
I'm saying that. I mean, we're here getting the limelight.
HR
and
HR can. We're going to get HR involved in this, Dave.
But saying that we've not got lives, we're the ones getting the limelight. There's other people who sit behind the scenes. Hey, Thomas, who we can actually still see, who's not getting any limelight, sat there. He's disappeared out of his chair a few times to go and do things while we're doing penalties.
That's very poor from a producer point of view. Do you know what? I'm just going to leave my chair, leave my post.
He doesn't do that in the middle of the race, does he?
No, it's just shocking.
Oh, he does. He just wins and leaves the car as well.
I'll be coming to you, HR. I'm feeling aggrieved. I might be off. I'm just
off with
but
stress.
Anyway, back on track. That is unsportsmanlike conduct there, Dave. Yeah. So you will be reprimanded for that.
That's all right. I've got no points to lose.
We have our Christmas break now. Well-deserved break, I think, for all of us from real life issues, and maybe a little bit of a break from iRacing as well, to recharge your battery, get them practices in before we are back on the first Sunday in January for what will be an epic race around the Red Bull Ring. We have 4 races. We are looking at not having the race over the Daytona 24, so you guys can definitely do that without repercussions or feeling that you have to come back into the league. So we'll probably extend it for that extra week in that series. But I think it's fitting to, let's say, I hope that from everybody from Performance Link that you have a great Christmas. Get all the lovely sim gear that you've asked Santa for. And if not, you can certainly win some in the prizes that you've got in this league on track. But for myself, it's been a great 2022. Great start to the Performance Link Season 1. And let's finish it off with a bang. And let's see how close we can get these championships, Dave. Any final words from yourself, mate?
Yeah, I echo what Andy says. I hope you have all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year over the little period. I'm sure the Discord will still be firing messages left, right, and centre, probably even on Christmas Day, knowing some of you. But it will be a great event at Red Bull Ring. Hopefully after Red Bull Ring, we'll be able to announce a bit more about the endurance idea, which we were on about as well, the 12-hour endurance, which should be a great event. I've heard a few other teams from outside the series wanting to do this, so that's also a good sign. And then obviously maybe by mid to late January we can start letting you know a bit more about season 2, all being well that Andy and Tom are still very happy to actually run this and not said one season's enough, off we go.
Well, I'll be getting Tom to do a lot more, that's for sure. He's taken all the glory and done very little. Yeah, I'm calling you out, Tom. You know what you've done. Nah, he does a lot behind the scenes, bless his little cotton socks.
Yeah.
He tries.
No,
God loves a trier.
Yeah, you've got to be a trier in life. But as we go, we have got, as I say, we've got a busy January ahead with the leagues and that. So we'll get through the leagues, we'll get through the Daytona 24 hours, get that endurance out there for people. I just going off the top of my head, we might have it sort of late February, early March, I think was roughly an idea to put it in between the seasons of season 1. Tom, you are HR, so that's a problem.
You come to me, Tom.
And then season 2, hopefully, we will find out everybody's view, and it could be just another GT series. It could be many more. So
we're not going to put the cat out of the bag here. It's going to be epic because I'm organising it. So anything I organise is absolutely epic anyway. So I will blow my own trumpet because nobody else does. But it's going to be epic. It's going to be one of them ones that you'll want to join. So just stand by, wait for it.
In answer to Simeon, I don't think there'll be a massively long break, but I don't think it's going to be like a week 13 and then we're straight back into season 2. It will be, you'll have a period of fitting in the endurance probably in between.
We're there at the moment, Patrick. We're going to be there for season 2. It's just going to blow your mind. You're not going to be able to...
Andy's going to race and commentate and produce.
I am. That's it. Exactly. I'm going to do all 3. Call me the Messiah.
Well, that was Tom.
No, he's
or have you just been a naughty boy?
Tom's the overlord, isn't he? He's the supreme overlord. Gotta give him a title.
Anyway.
Up there. Is it up there, Tom? Is it right out on my screen? But anyway, we digress and spitball. But, thanks again, guys, for joining us on this pit stop. I thought you really enjoyed them. We enjoyed doing them. We have a bit of a laugh as well on screen. It's great to have that interaction between us and you guys on the penalties. And, one thing I think has really come out of this season and this league is that, we've proved that doing it this way, it almost diffuses it and people can understand. And I've certainly noticed in the Discord chat, there's not the anger that you have in maybe some of the other leagues. So it's been a benefit, but it's been a pleasure. But unfortunately, this is the last one before, till after the Red Bull Ring on there, unless we have a special one to announce something to you guys, but that's not planned in there. So enjoy your Christmas break again, guys. See you back in January and see for what will be an epic 4 rounds to close out the first season of the Performance Link GT3 Cup. So from myself, Andy Thompson, from Dave alongside me that way in the box, and from Thomas down there, you can't see him, we can. He's done a great job tonight as always, and keep up the good work with the photos, Tom. We all love them. So from us here, from the pit stop here tonight from Daytona, enjoy your break and see you in the new year. Goodbye.